Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jake and today I wanted to talk about Starfield once again because I think I have heard possibly the worst take on Starfield ever. Now this is a video that was uploaded by a YouTuber called Treylo and he says that Starfield is doomed. Now I have been subscribed to this channel for about 6 months, so my interest was piqued when he posted this video because I think Starfield does have some negative aspects, but I've never heard anyone say that the game is doomed. So I decided to watch the video and there were some very interesting takes in here. Very interesting takes, like for example the combat. He says that the combat is awful in this game and actually goes on a little rant about it and says that the combat in this game is severely lacking, which again is something that I've not heard anyone say. In fact, I've heard nothing but praise about the combat, especially when comparing it to what we've seen last year. Now, last year's combat was incredibly awful. However, this year, the combat looks way more stable than it used to, so I'm not too sure where that came from. But anyway, this video is not going to focus on this video completely. It's more about the conclusion that he came to in this video, that this game was basically a worse version of No Man's Sky and Star Citizen. And that is something that he brought up a lot throughout this video, was comparisons to Star Citizen and No Man's Sky, which again is something that I've been seeing a lot on the internet, not just by this YouTuber, but by a lot of other people, especially on Twitter and Reddit. So I wanted to make this video just to clear it up because I think if you're comparing Starfield to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen, you are going about this all completely wrong. Starfield is not a space simulation game. Let's just get that out there right at the start. This is not a space sim game. There is no in-flight atmosphere, there is no ground vehicles, it is not a space simulator. Star Citizen and No Man's Sky are in a completely different genre to Starfield for a specific reason. Those games are about exploring planets and living in this space simulated world. Starfield is still a Bethesda RPG that just happens to be set in space, and I think a lot of people don't quite realize that and are hyping themselves up for this huge space simulation game and are going to be quite disappointed when they find out it's just a Bethesda game that is set in space rather than being a space sim game with RPG elements. The reason that you should be hyped for Starfield and why many other people are hyped for Starfield isn't because of the space aspect of the game, but it's because it's a Bethesda game, because it's an RPG. That's the whole point. The dialogue, the choices, the quests, the character building, all of that is Bethesda, and that is what you can expect from this game. So the fact that there's no in-atmosphere flight is a disappointing thing. I will admit it would have been cool to have that in the game, but it doesn't matter that much because again, that's not the highlight of this game. It's not setting out to be a space simulator, it's setting out to be a Bethesda game that is set in space. Now, to give him credit, he does say that non-atmosphere flight isn't the end of the world, but he says that his problem is with the reasoning that Todd Howard gives for this. And the reason is, of course, Todd Howard said that he didn't think it was worth the time, basically. He didn't think it was worth the time investment to get that mechanic working. And I have to say, I agree with that. If that mechanic was going to be added, but it meant that they would have to pull back on RPG mechanics and go more like Fallout 4 in terms of dialogue and choices, then absolutely it was not worth the time. They should be focusing most of their development resources on this game on the actual RPG aspect that Bethesda is known for, the actual dialogue, quests and choices. That sort of thing is where the focus should lie, and that is clearly what they've decided to do. So yeah, there's no atmosphere flight because instead of working on that, they decided to work on other areas like your character background, your traits, and the dialogue choices that you can choose within the story. Now of course there are sandbox elements in this game, as there are with all Bethesda games, like the fact that you can build an outpost on any planet you want and design it to work however you want. You can design your own ship from scratch and just make it as completely unique and different as you want. You can go with any approach. You can make a giant mech, you can make a giant sandwich, you can literally turn your ship into whatever you want with the building mechanics. So there are sandbox elements in this from things that you would kind of hope would be in a space sim. But again, do not get that confused for this game being a space sim. I think the thing that confuses most people about this is the fact that this game has over 1,000 planets, and that has confused some people because it makes them think it's a space sim game because, oh, you can go and explore all of these procedural planets and you can go do a bunch of things, and obviously that does sound a little bit like No Man's Sky. But I think it's really important for people to know that that is just a feature on this game, a little thing that's added on rather than the main aspect of this game. For the most part, I don't think people are going to explore these planets for very long because once you've landed on 10 or 15 planets, you pretty much would have explored everything that there is to offer in this game, because the procedural generation does seem pretty limited in what it can do. It can generate outposts and caves and various other points of interest, but again, after you've landed on 15 or so different planets, I feel as though you would have pretty much experienced everything that the game has to offer procedurally generation wise. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong there. I don't know how extensive this procedural gen is. I don't know how much stuff is on these planets that could be rendered in at any moment. I don't know how it all works, but I just feel as though it's a mechanic that a lot of people are getting a bit too overhyped for. I don't think it's going to be that big of a thing. I think, as is normal in a Bethesda game, I think the main highlight of this game is going to be the story, the dialogue, and the characters. And the 1000 planets thing is more of just a side thing added on and something that's cool for modders, because of course there's a lot of cool modding potential with those 1000 planets. And I just want to go over this again as well. This game apparently has the most handcrafted content of any Bethesda game ever, which means that it has more content than Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, any previous Bethesda game. This game has more handcrafted content than any of it. So don't let the 1000 planets thing make you worry and make you scared, because again, they're reassuring that there is a lot of handcrafted content within this game. Again, that 1000 planets are just a little side thing to add more content to the game, and again, give modders the opportunity to do some probably pretty crazy things. So yeah, I don't know, I'm seeing that take quite a bit on the internet, especially on Reddit and Twitter as well, that people are comparing this game to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen, and people are under the idea that this is going to be some sort of space sim game. So I just wanted to make this video just to clear that up and just say, lower your expectations if that's what you're expecting. As Todd said many years ago, this game is essentially Skyrim in space, so think of it as that rather than a space sim. It's just a traditional Bethesda game that is set in space and has a bunch of procedural generated content if you choose to go off of the handcrafted path. Again, it's not something that I think a lot of players are going to engage with for very long, but it is there if you want to do it, and again, it's a huge plane for modders to do whatever they want with. So yeah, I hope that's cleared some things up for some people who are confused and perhaps misinformed. I know a lot of you already know this, but again, I've just been seeing this go around recently, and I watched this video and it kind of just motivated me to make my own video talking about it, because again, a lot of things that he says in this video are just wrong, and I think he completely misunderstands what the game is. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of Starfield. Did this video clear up anything that you may have been confused on? Are you disappointed in things like atmospheric flight not being in the game and instead them focusing on RPG mechanics, or would you prefer them to do what they're doing and focus on those RPG mechanics instead? Because at the end of the day, don't forget, this is a Bethesda game. But anyway, that's about all I have to say on this matter, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and that notification bell so you know when I next upload a video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Jake, and I'll see you next time.